Important day today as Pope Francis hosted several top U.S. bishops at the Vatican to discuss the abuse scandal rocking the Catholic Church. He also accepted the resignation of West Virginia Bishop Michael Bransfield amid allegations of sexual harassment of adults. But as the Church considers action from the top, the question remains who knew what and when, and what will be done to change it going forward, particularly when it comes to Cardinal Theodore McCarrick, a former top clergy member, a cardinal who the Vatican stands accused of knowing some information about and perhaps covering it up. Here now, Father Boniface Ramsey, who says that he sounded the alarm about Cardinal McCarrick to the higher-ups for decades. Bill Donahue, president of the Catholic League, and Father Jonathan Morris, our Fox News religion analyst. Good to have all of you with us. I know that at the core of all of this, for all of us, is the future of the Church and wanting the best for the Church as it goes forward. Reverend Ramsey, you say that over the decades, you made it very clear through written statements and speaking out that you felt that Cardinal McCarrick was someone who was abusing seminarians and should not be promoted. Tell me something about that.
Well, yes. At that time, of course, I didn't know anything about the child abuse. I knew only about his behavior with seminarians, which, as a lot of people know now, involved his going to a beach house and inviting 5 seminarians, and there were only 5 beds, so one of the seminarians had to share a bed with him. And this was going on in the 1980s, and you know, if it wasn't illegal, it was certainly extremely inappropriate and bizarre, you know.
And what was the response that you got? And you must have been surprised when he was continued to be promoted.
I was. I mean, because my impression was that everyone knew. And it was just odd that, given this behavior, that he would get anywhere. Yeah.
Bill, I've heard that from other sources as well, that this was a very well-known secret.
Well, we heard rumors, and some of them are true and some of them are false, but I give this man a great deal of courage here. It had not been for him and for Cardinal Dolan, who gets no credit whatsoever. He's the one who outed McCarrick with the program that they have in place in the Archdiocese. But look, we need to find out what went on there. We know that McCarrick was elevated to the Archbishop of Washington in 2001, the same year he became a cardinal. But in 2000, this man here, Father Ramsey, made it known to the Vatican. They may have known before that. So the question is, who knew in 2000? Why was he elevated? We haven't gotten the answers. The Pope is stonewalling on this, and we can't put up with it any longer.
And so, I mean, central to this discussion is the releasing of the documents that are related to the investigation into Cardinal McCarrick. And, you know, some people might listen to this and say, you know, it's one person, it's one bishop. But he is so high up in the Church. And if the Vatican knew about what he was doing, Father Jonathan, it looks terrible. And I don't see how the Church moves on without really facing this head on.
Well, remember in 2002, okay, that was kind of the apex of the scandal that began in Boston, right? We think of Spotlight, the movie that brought that to light much later than the depth of it. But we know that 2002 was a watershed moment for the Catholic Church because there were very serious mechanisms that were put into place, that there was zero tolerance for any priest that would do such a thing of abuse of a child, or in this case of a seminarian. But what hasn't happened, and what we're seeing now, and this is a watershed moment now for the Church, another level, is what mechanisms are in place to make sure that bishops who are in charge of this are held accountable. And I think that's what we're getting to. This is a very different level. Thank God we look at the numbers that it's been very few cases of abuse after 2002 in the Church. But there are people still in power today, still in authority, who knowingly transferred people before 2002 or after in positions where they could abuse again.
Is Cardinal Wuerl one of them? Because the word now is that he is going to resign.
Well, he would know better than anybody else whether he's responsible for this. What he has said is it looks like new leadership is needed. I would have wished that Pope Francis would have said, well, that's obvious.
Look,
done it before.
This is a witch hunt against Wuerl. I've known him for 30 years. I knew him as a professor in Pittsburgh. He's a great man. When he was there for 18 years in Pittsburgh as the bishop, there were 19 new cases of accused priests he looked at. 18 of the 19 he threw out immediately. Some people are complaining about some old cases that he may have dealt with at some time. This man is an honorable man, and there are people in this country on the left and the right has gone particularly vicious. They're looking for a scalp, and they will go after Worrell because he's a cardinal. If you want to get the bad guys, I say I'm with you. But don't start in. We have just today, Bishop Kevin Rhodes been exonerated. His reputation has been ruined. He's the Bishop of South Bend and Fort Wayne because the kid's mother said he couldn't even support
let me push back a little bit, Bill, on that. Let me push back a little bit. You said 18 out of 19 cases. There was one case in which he has admitted publicly that he made very bad decisions. He is 78 years old now. He himself has said, I am not the one to lead right now.
Right.
I was with, hold on, Bill.
1 out of 19.
Hold on. Yes, 1 out of 19. I'm not saying,
too many.
Well, then why don't we talk about the public schools? Why is it always about the Catholic Church? If we're concerned about the kids being abused, why do they only have grand juries about the Catholic Church? What about Jews and Muslims? And what about
Bill,
the
I'm
public
glad
schools?
that you're defending the Catholic Church, but can I tell you something?
You don't need to scream at me, Father. Calm down. Just calm down. You've been apologetic for this for a long time.
Okay,
I've been the one who's been out there who analyzed the grand jury report, not you.
Would you let me speak for a moment?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I am going
Father
ahead.
Jonathan, please.
I'm not suggesting that Cardinal Worrell is not a good man. What I'm suggesting is...
Yes, exactly what
Let
you
him
just
speak,
did.
Bill. Let him.
Actually, no, it's not. It's not. What I'm saying is that when you need new leadership, you need new leadership. And those are the words of Cardinal Worrell himself. And we need to hear that. We need to hear it.
How far up the chain?
But here's, and I want to get your thought on this before we go. Yes, these things happen outside of the Catholic Church. I think, for the purposes of the Catholic Church, though, the primary concern has to be the Catholic Church and making sure that this place where people expect people to be taken care of and loved and looked after should be absolutely not a place where any of this happens. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not sure we should make comparisons with other groups. We should be able to speak for ourselves, All
I want to know, Father, is this. Why, out of the whole universe of institutions where adults regularly intermingle with minors, why is it the grand jury in Pennsylvania chose only the Catholic Church? Let Jews and Muslims and Protestants and everybody else, and particularly the public schools, why don't they ever have a grand jury investigation of the public schools?
We're going to continue this conversation another night. Thank you very much, all of you. We'll be right back here tomorrow night. Tucker Carlson's up next.